Hey everybody, this is Kyrie091 here with Brian Lutes for the first episode of our yet-to-be-named Arizona Cardinals weekly podcast. How you doing, Brian Lutes?
Well, why don't we just call it that?
Arizona Cardinals weekly podcast?
Yeah, man.
I kind of feel like that's a little bit too official. People will think that like we're associated with the Arizona Cardinals organization when we're really not. We're just like two guys who like football.
Arizona Cardinals weekly podcast.
So as long as we don't use the word official, it's not official?
Right, I think that is the law. That's how the jury would look at it.
Anyways, so let's dive right into it. We've had a pretty busy week in sports in general, and with the Cardinals. So let's take a look back, and the one of the stories that jumped out at me over the last week. By the way, we're gonna get to all kinds of crazy stuff today. I got a lot I want to say about Markieff Morris and the Morris twins and the Suns. We'll get to that much later. We're also gonna get to Geno Smith and the Jets. And we'll do a little bit of discussion about the NFC West and how the Cardinals are going to dominate it. And we'll talk about why the other three teams.
Why'd you start out like highlighting? Now I know you guys are going to be waiting patiently for the Markieff Morris news update here on the Cardinals podcast, but unfortunately we have to get into a little bit of Cardinals football. But first, Geno Smith.
I know at some point we will talk about Markieff Morris.
Speaking of Geno Smith, man, did you hear that Rex Ryan just signed this smash mouth kicker?
That's pretty good. No, that's great. That's great.
He really signed that guy too. Well, he coached that kicker over in New York. So
before we get to Geno Smith, let's talk about the Cardinals. We will get to Geno Smith though. Bruce Arians.
What can't you say about him?
Bruce Arians has implemented a no stretch rule. Go.
Apparently. He just wants to keep all of his starters healthy for the start of the season.
And so he's not having them stretch?
Yeah, man. He's just... Well, no, I mean, they're sitting on the sidelines because they're hamstrings.
I understand, and keep in mind, guys, I am not... I'm a rabid Cardinals fan, but I'm not, like, the most well-studied NFL expert. I mean, I'd like to think I know some stuff, but I'm not, like, super crazy about, like, knowing everything about the NFL. So I understand that in the last, like, several seasons, the rules have changed about how much time the coach can have the players for practice. And there's rules about how much time the coach can keep the players for practice. Consequently, he doesn't want to waste any of their time stretching. He feels like that's something they should be doing on their own time, and that all the time they have on the field should really be spent doing drills and running plays and stuff. Now, like, I guess I agree with that philosophy, but, like, how many hamstring injuries do we need to see before we start letting these dudes have a minute to do some, like, toe touches and jumping jacks and crap? What do you think?
Man, I don't know. Like, I kind of hear where Bruce Arians is coming from. That's how many... I mean, you deal with people that get paid that much money. You have a small amount of time, a small window you can use at the very, like, high level, like, plays and everything that you're really trying to focus on. So something that's kind of elementary, like stretching, I would expect them as professionals to manage that before they need to be on the field. I mean, the coach should not have to, like, hold your hand. Like, your PE teacher would, but the coach of the team that you're on a $1 million contract for shouldn't have to tell you to, like, manage your health on your own.
I suppose so, but they're not doing it, and the injuries, the hamstring injuries, seem pretty evident of that because they're just like pulled muscles. These things could have been avoided by stretching, and they practice in an air-conditioned building. See, like summertime in like Green Bay, practicing outside is probably very nice. Summertime in Phoenix, Arizona, outside is unacceptable, so they have to practice inside, and the downside to that is that it actually gets pretty chilly out there on the field because they keep the whole dome cooled. Anywho, so that's it. That's all we're going to talk about stretching. No more talking about stretching. What about Bobby Massey?
He's a crook.
He's
criminal.
He's a dummy.
A charlatan.
He's a dummy. He's a tard.
Yeah.
Did you hear the story about like what actually went down?
No, I didn't. I just saw
what happened. It was Super Bowl week. This was in January. He had a bit too much to drink, so he decided the best place for him to park and sleep off his drunk was in the parking lot of the Cardinals practice facility in Tempe. So he went to the Cardinals practice facility in Tempe, Arizona, and he just parked his car there, drunk, and like went to go to sleep. But the thing is that he left the key in the ignition and the engine running to keep the vehicle like climate controlled because he was hot or cold or whatever he was. And in Arizona, that's a DUI. If you're drunk and sitting behind the wheel and the engine's on, you're committing a DUI. So he
should have gotten the passenger seat. And I've even heard that the keys in the ignition is all the actual letter of the law.
Okay, yeah. I think that might actually be true. And I'm not 100% sure. I don't exactly know DUI law top to bottom or anything. But the point
it's not governed by reason in the United States. It's not like bird law.
No. So if he would have just like relaxed with like the windows down and the key in his pocket or the key like in his glove box or something,
or just got in the passenger seat,
then there would be no DUI here. Or like Uber or call a cab or call the coaching staff or one of the many assistants.
I mean, we all know that he broke the law, but how did he get caught? Like, you kind of glossed over that part. Did somebody
That's a great. Oh, that's I actually don't know.
It sounds like Cardinals training facility would be like a place where they would have, say, like nighttime
like watchman guys, yeah.
Yeah,
and honestly,
security.
dude, if one of them sees your starting right tackle drunk in the parking lot, you probably get him a ride home. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't just see that and say, oh well, he's gonna get what's coming to him. Like you get this dude home safe.
I think that, I don't know, private security sometimes does engage people, but if they just see a car parked there kind of suspiciously, they might just call the police and have the police come over and
that may have been what happened. I don't know. I do know that's the story behind how he got charged with DUI. Now the other question is, where do we go at right tackle?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I guess the only silver lining to that is, out of all of the people on that line on the offense, Bobby Massey's probably one that, if you had to say you're going to lose one of these guys 4 games for DUI, that's probably the one. And I don't want to say
it's presently 3 games. It might go down to 2 or whatever. It's presently 3 though. But I agree with that, dude. It would be devastating if the same thing had happened to Jared Valdir or Mikey Potty or even the center. I guess there's still like an ongoing battle between Lyle Sendline and AQ Shipley. I kind of hope Sendline gets it just because I like the guy. He's been there a while. But
isn't Ted Larson still penciled in as the starter at this just very precise moment in time?
No, the last I heard, AQ Shipley was running with the ones. But that was 2 days ago, so I guess I don't know. Last I heard, AQ Shipley was running with the ones. Larson was with the right guard, second team right guard, and Sendline was second team center.
I'm just looking at the depth chart on ESPN right now.
Is Larson listed as first team center on ESPN? Yeah. Frickin' ESP frickin' N, dude.
So am I gonna sound stupid now? Oh man.
No. ESPN's gonna sound stupid, and don't you worry your pretty little head. They always sound stupid.
Does C. Palmer play for the Cardinals? I just want to make sure that any of this is.
Hang on, let me take a look at our depth chart. Okay, see, the Wikipedia page still has Chandler Harnish as one of our quarterbacks. One of you guys needs to get. No, they cut him a few days ago.
ESPN says that too.
Yeah, no, we have Palmer, Sims, Stanton, and Thomas. So, onward.
Dude, you're more cutting edge than this freaking stupid ESPN.
Everybody knows that ESPN blows, dude. ESPN,
why am I here, dude? I want to sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Then go to reddit.com/r/AZ Cardinals.
Hold on, there's just a bunch of static coming through. Let me take my fedora off. Say that again.
Your neck beard must have gotten in the way.
It did. Let me get a trim.
All right, so. Next thing I want to talk about, NFL in general. We got Geno Smith happening. Geno Smith happened. Some guy whose name is tough. Emick Polly.
Todd, you don't have to do it, Mr. Assistant of the Year. You don't have to put yourself.
Come back, Todd. You don't have to do it. No.
Man.
Somebody. I saw a tweet. It was from just some random person. I'm sorry, random person. I don't know who you are, but you're not listening anyway, so you don't care. I saw a tweet from somebody, and it said, okay, so you're let's say you're Steve Keim, general manager of the Cardinals.
I'm Steve Keim.
Okay, Steve, nice to talk with you.
Do you want to get a steak?
91. You want to get a cheese steak?
Do you want to go get my favorite steakhouse again?
Do you want to go to Marley's?
I look at
downtown.
like the shape. I look at the shape of Steve Keim and Bruce Arians, and I believe them when they talk about their steakhouse missions as much as they do. Like every time they interview anybody, like, "Oh, I took him out to our steakhouse." Like, and
So, anyways,
regulars.
So Steve Keim, phone rings.
Mhm.
It's Todd Bowles and a representative from the New York Jets, and they
Hey,
say,
Todd, how's it going?
Hey, Steve. Hey, Steve. It's Todd Bowles. Is that how he talks? I don't know.
Yeah, dude, that's great, man.
So,
Hey, Todd, it's great to hear from you, man. I heard about Gino. It's a real bummer.
Okay, I'm gonna level with you right now. I'll give you 1 first-round pick next year's draft for Drew Stanton. What do you do?
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you pick inside your division? You got Ryan Lindley out there playing for the Patriots. I think
It's good. No, shut up, Dick. It's no. See, here's the thing: is that normally under normal circumstances, someone says, "I'll give you a first rounder for your backup quarterback." You're like, yeah, right. Especially the Jets' first rounder. They're going to be awful, so it's going to be a great pick. But do you really risk that when Carson Palmer is notorious for getting hurt? And you're probably going to need Drew Stanton at some point this season. And if you give him away, you're going to end up this season having to rely on Logan Thomas or Phil Simms. Oh, Phil Simms would be nice. Philip Simms, whatever the frick this dude's name is. What's the guy's name?
Yeah. It
Phillip
says
Simms.
here on the Arizona Cardinals depth shot on ESPN.com, it says C. Harnish. Is that the one?
No, he's gone. Honestly, I think that that if Palmer were to go down again and Stanton were to have to come up, I think that they bring in another quarterback on the spot, like right then and there.
Yeah, I think if Palmer goes down again this season and can't finish the season, that we're going to be done with him. I think that we'll immediately begin like fully moving toward a different quarterback.
But if that's the case, then you will have wished that you had made this imaginary deal with the Jets. Now, obviously, the Jets aren't offering that, and they're not gonna. Drew Stanton's not worth your first round pick, but
hindsight's always 20/20 with imaginary deals.
So I just thought that was an intriguing thing. Even a second round pick, you'd still have to stop and think about it. Once you get into the third round and lower,
I want to ask a question though. Why are we even thinking about this? Is this part of the format as like fun hypotheticals?
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, no. I am having fun with this hypothetical.
Great.
So, let's see.
There's more news to cover too, though. So
no, there is more news to cover, and we're going to talk about it right now. Let's start with the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, that team, dude! I remember them from last year.
Yeah, I think they played in the AFC West from 1977 until 2001.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I think they're going to go back too when the deal happens that puts a team in LA. LA is going to have to that we're probably going to have to move a team out of the NFC West for whatever reason.
Okay.
And it's going to be the Seahawks because they were in the AFC West before. So we'll end up getting like the Chiefs or something in our division.
That would be dope, though. I like the Chiefs, man. Except for the colors might get a little confused. They got
that's one thing. I love the Cardinals. I do. I love them with all my heart. And I had the same problem with the Coyotes when they switched to red and the D-backs when they switched to red is that everybody is freaking red. Like, every team is red, dude. Why we got to be red?
I mean, the Cincinnati Reds is like, dude, we're not even going to pretend. We're red.
Cleveland's football team was like, you know what, guys, we're not going to be red.
Yeah, and look how that worked out for them, dude.
Oh, they should have gone with red. They should.
Yeah. The Falcons kind of shitting on the red right now, though.
No, they are, and well, the Buccaneers, they're red.
Yeah, but
the Giants sometimes wear red.
The Buccaneers are champions, though. The Bucs are champs.
They were once in like 01 or something.
Falcons ain't no champion.
Falcons ain't shit.
Cardinals ain't no champion.
They will be soon. Chiefs are red too.
They beat the shit out of the Cardinals last year. They were a real freaking like a real reality check. Remember?
Okay.
No, you don't.
I don't remember. Okay.
Dude, they opened up 17-0 on us last year. We were like on that hot streak, and we're like, oh, we're just going to go in there and pound Atlanta. And then just like Julio Jones literally like gave Patrick Peterson diabetes.
So final point about the Jets before we move on. It's got to suck to be the Jets. They're the freaking laughing stock of the NFL because not just Geno Smith. The Sheldon Richardson thing just happened too, with him driving like 150 miles an hour with his kid in the back while he's smoking weed. Yeah, like
that's funny, dude. How could you manage to supplant the Jags as like the most embarrassing org in the NFL?
Well, but you know what? It's not. See,
and the Niners.
Okay, but the Jags are what they are because they don't play that well. The Jets are what they are because their players punch each other in the face.
And break each other's jaws like their starting quarterback.
That's the difference. The Jets are what they are because their players drive 150 miles an hour with their kid in the back seat while they're smoking marijuana. Like that's what the Jets are. And see, like, you know, and the Cardinals were bad too once upon a time, but it wasn't for reasons like that. It was because we just didn't have a whole lot of talent on the field.
Hey, you got to hear both sides, bro. Maybe it was the kid's weed and like telling dad to take him to the dealers pronto.
He really needed that marijuana fix, dude. He was in a hurry.
Yeah.
Anyways, Niners are gonna suck. Let's get that out of the way.
Yeah, they're going to suck. But we didn't really touch on the Seahawks, though. I mean, we kind of talked about like possible changes in the divisions and everything and how cool the Chiefs are.
I think that the Seahawks are going to run into problems down the road. Not this next season, but I think that the payday they just gave Wilson, I think that in a season or two, there's going to be other players wanting to get theirs. And since they wrapped up Aaron Rodgers level salaries and Russell Wilson, they're not going to exactly have money. And the thing is that Russell Wilson is not Aaron Rodgers. He is Russell Wilson. He's a little different.
Right. So that's kind of been my whole thing too, is I think that, you know, this coming season, you won't notice it. Seahawks fans will still be really optimistic, but I totally agree. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, oh, I do know what it is. That the Seahawks were successful. They were successful based on the defense. The defense is really outside of Marshawn Lynch. Outside of Marshawn Lynch is really all that you could be saying about the team. Offense was Marshawn Lynch. Russell Wilson's not a good quarterback. Russell Wilson is a big personality and kind of has a little cult of personality in the same way that Tim Tebow does. Tim Tebow is also not necessarily a good quarterback. And they're kind of like the same thing. But like the difference with Tim Tebow is he wasn't on a team with an incredibly stellar defense that helped propel him into Super Bowls.
But he kind of was. The Broncos. The Broncos had a dynamite defense that year, and they had Matt Prater kicking 63-yard field goals, and that made Tebow win games.
Yeah, I guess it
didn't carry him into a Super Bowl or anything, but they definitely had some modest success under Tim Tebow, but it wasn't on Tebow's arm, and everyone knew
really
it.
Like, is that Denver defense really like the Seattle like Legion of Boom and everything?
No. They had some really big names, and they were really impressive. But no,
the Seattle defense is literally like one of those I wouldn't maybe go as hyperbolic as to say like generational defenses, but it's like definitely like when you think about this period in the NFL, I mean, it'll be defined like defensively by Seattle.
I'll tell you what, you don't
think that about Denver. I mean, you pretty much still thought that about Seattle even at that time Tebow played for Denver.
Their defense has a nickname. That's all you need to say about it. The steel curtain. You know, like when you're defensive, when any group gets a nickname. You know, greatest show on turf. Do you know what I mean? Like when you start naming different parts of your team, obviously something pretty significant has happened.
Right. So that's what I'm getting at. I think Russell Wilson got paid more on his personality and his draw and marketability than his quarterback production. I mean, the stats certainly reflect that. It's really ridiculous for him to get a contract that valuable with the types of numbers he puts up. And so that's what's hilarious to me, is that in a way Russell Wilson is actually going to become the Seattle Seahawks' ultimate demise that makes that moniker Legion of Boom a historical term rather than a term of the present. And yeah, we will see that within 2 years. Suddenly you're not going to be able to afford, Michael Bennett just got paid, so he'll be around too. But Cam's trying to renegotiate his contract right now. He's talking about possibly even being a holdout for training camp and everything.
Marshawn.
Season. So, yeah. And I'm sure they're going to eventually work it out, but you're losing a lot of depth. You're going to be losing a lot of depth. You're going to be not able to keep all the same starters that you had. I mean, we all know that whatever that Maxwell was the heart and soul of that defense, Byron Maxwell. So
yeah. Tell it to Richard Sherman. Okay. Next topic. Niners are going to suck. There's not a whole lot to say. Everybody knows why. Everybody left their team this year, and the only guy that didn't got cut from the team, Aldon Smith, for being an idiot. And there's not a whole lot to say about the Niners. Let's move on to the Rams. How do you feel about the Rams this year?
They're really wild cardy. What's kind of interesting is like St. Louis Rams are the team that gives me the most concern. I think the reason I say that is because with Seattle, we kind of know what we're going to get. And we already said that, in my opinion, they're going to look kind of similar next year to how they looked last year. I don't necessarily buy into the whole Jimmy Graham thing, which we can't really pass up on Seattle before mentioning that kind of shit.
Oh, that's true.
So like people are making
tight ends light us up too, man.
Here's the thing: it's just like tight ends do light us up. But the ones that do, you think about people like Tony Gonzalez with like Matt Ryan and shit. The tight ends that line us up have the quarterback. Like, and I know that like
Vernon Davis, Kaepernick, he lit us up on the regs, man.
That's true. Vernon Davis is he's kind of Jimmy Graham-esque, where he's like a receiver. But I'm just saying, here's all I'm trying to get at is that that is a really good point, and I think that like Jimmy Graham might work out for Seattle against the Cardinals. But in terms of making Seattle a team that bolsters their identity, I don't think that's the case at all. He's not a run blocking tight end at all.
No, he's not. No, he's
like another receiver, and like Russell Wilson is not a downfield quarterback. So like that doesn't even play into his strengths. So neither of these guys are going into a position that really elevates their individual strengths. It's kind of cluttered, you know.
So you're saying Jimmy Graham in Seattle might be a little bit of a bad fit.
Like I don't think it's, I mean, because what they're going to be asking Russ to do is Russ has to put the ball down the field more. I mean, regardless of those like 3 passes that we all remember that should have never happened that are incredible, you're overlooking all of the other passes that were picks that were horrible. Of course, you're going to land 3 ridiculous passes after so many interceptions. Like that's just statistics, you know, like just because the defense kept him in the position to win the game doesn't mean that Russell Wilson throwing 4 interceptions should not have just been them losing the game. And I think that you put a Jimmy Graham out there and like, yeah, he's way more talented than anybody that they have right now in their receiving core. But I think the issue is asking Russell Wilson to play as a pocket passer. I think that him scrambling, slipping out of the pocket. We all know that's kind of what the only reason that Seattle can like survive offensively outside of Marshawn Lynch, because they don't really have an offensive line. So it does help to create chaos, because then you're kind of like play action shit going on, and they kind of pull stuff like that off. But I don't see Jimmy Graham helping them like achieve their fundamental identity, which is like a in your face like ground game, like inching the ball forward. So we'll see. Like we both pointed out, the Cardinals have a weakness with tight ends. So we'll be getting to see Jimmy Graham put up some good points on us. But how that translates into like other
that doesn't mean they win the game. I mean, exactly. You know, Jimmy Graham can light us up all day if on the next play Wilson throws a pick. And you know, and freaking Peterson returns it for 6 like that.
And so, like, I am down talking our defense, especially our secondary, a lot. But like Honey Badger, I mean, we haven't really gotten to the Cardinals yet, but Honey Badger looking amazing. Patrick Peterson looking amazing.
Right? Yes, but Graham doesn't have to contend with them. Graham has to contend with our linebackers, because the guys in the secondary are most likely going to be back on the receivers. Graham's going to have to contend with the likes of Weatherspoon if he can get back on the field. I know. And you know, these other guys, and maybe Darrell Washington. Hang on, we're running short on time. So what I want from you is 25 seconds about the Rams.
The Rams. So here's what I'm concerned about the Rams is because they're really on the rise, like Arizona, and everybody kind of, I think, agrees with that. Seattle, I think, is in a mid-peak process and has been for like a good season plus now, and then it's going to start to decline.
Yeah, got to come back down some point.
Yeah, well, once you peak and you have success, then obviously you have a bunch of like stat-heavy players for just being on a good team. It's going to improve everybody. But now you've kind of skewed the stats, because players who aren't as good as their stats suggest, because they played on a really good team, are going to look more valuable than they probably really are. And that's just like the consequence of being good.
So what's that have to do with the Rams?
And then, so that's why the Patriots always do good, is because they understand this model and they keep the fresh talent coming up and let those guys that age and become overvalued move on to other things. But here's what it's got to do with the Rams: is the Rams aren't in that position yet. They're still building up, and they still have like rookie and like small contracts on these players that are really freaking good and young and just getting started.
Nick Foles,
Seattle was like they're like Seattle, where Seattle was a couple seasons ago.
Except with a passer. Nick
Except for the
Foles,
passer.
dude.
They have Nick Foles, dude. And Nick Foles, like, I mean, he did benefit from the Chip Kelly system, which is really high tempo offense. So also
But
his
you know what?
stats.
It wasn't Chip Kelly's system that caused Nick Foles to never throw a goddamn pick. Nick Foles does not really throw interceptions, and that's because Nick Foles is a dynamite passer, like statistically and just the way he did whatever it is he's doing. Man, good on you, Nick Foles. Keep it up until you play Arizona, then start throwing picks.
And the scoop up of Todd Gurley is just
God damn it,
not cool.
Oh,
really.
that makes me sad, dude. Thank goodness we have a decent run block. But okay, so what do you want to see? Preseason game 1 coming up here. I believe we got Kansas City on Saturday. What would you like to see out of that game? Obviously, winning and losing does not matter in the preseason, so I'm not going to bother picking a winner or loser because seriously, does not matter. What do you want to see out of the game?
I think so it's going to be a long game. Like any game, it's going to be an hour. But I don't think that there's going to be a lot to see after the first couple of plays. This is like every preseason game. So in those first couple of plays, I think that we're going to see a couple shots taken down the field, and I just want to see one or more of them get converted. So I think that's really going to be what Bruce and like those guys want to see. I don't think they're going to really see how they do the dink and dunk shit. I don't think they're going to care a lot about how they move the line a whole lot, but maybe they will. I mean, I'm sure he's going to run a couple plays because we have changed the offensive line tons, but like a lot of the highlights and everything from the camp, like I just expect him to see how Carson and John are clicking in like game time environments.
I'm interested to see the bottom end of the wide receiving core. I mean, obviously, you know what you're getting out of Fitz, Floyd, the Jerron and John Brown. You know what you're getting out of them, but like it'd be kind of cool to see some of these other names. Obviously, J.J. Nelson. I'm sure we'll see him. Jackson Shipley will probably hear from.
There's a couple different things that you're going to see because we're going to probably see more of that than what I was just first mentioning.
No. Yeah, what you were first mentioning will be the first drive. Usually the starters play one series in the first preseason game, and then that's it. So this will be a good chance to see the competitions. Plus, we'll get our first look at names like Rodney Gunter.
Yeah,
and a couple other names like that. It'll be cool to see what they're Marcus Golden. You know what I mean? Like this is going to be our first chance to see these guys because they're probably not going to be with the starters right off the bat. I'm not saying they won't end up there, but I don't imagine either one of those two names will be alongside the starting group. So, that is about the long and short of what we got for you today. Normally at the end we would do picks. There's no sense in picking preseason games because honestly, the score in preseason is 100% irrelevant. It does not matter who wins or loses. It's like freaking youth soccer out there. So, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Please check in every week. We'll be uploading these, assuming that people are listening to them. And at some point, we'll be doing one of these after we win the Super Bowl sometime in February-ish, you think?
It's happening.
All right. This is Kyrie091 for Brian Lutes and Co. And we're wishing you guys a wonderful day and a great week. And go Cardinals!